Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey!
This week, we'll be discussing the science fiction horror classic, question mark?
Oh, man.
Slither?
Is this another one of your jokes where you call it the classic?
Oh, man. The blasphemy.
I'm throwing it down right now.
The devil you say.
This is
Slither, starring Elizabeth Banks, Nathan Fillion, Michael Rooker. There's a few other people who you may or may not recognize. I don't know. It's hard to say.
And I was totally confused because I thought it was the movie from the 1970s, which we will have to find and watch.
It's not. It's also not Slither, the Sharon Stone erotic movie with Billy Baldwin.
Can I tell you? I walked down the aisle with a dude who was in that for my friend Lisa's wedding. When they're looking through the telescope at the couple having sex across the way. Do you remember that in the movie Slither?
I saw it literally 30 years ago. So yes.
At one point, they're at a party and they have like a telescope so they can look across to the building the way, and they're watching a couple having sex. So the dude in that, it was like a buddy of my friend's husband. So he was my partner at their wedding.
Lovely.
That was his claim to fame.
So it's not Slither. It's not Shivers, which was, I believe, a David Cronenberg movie from the 70s as well. It is Slither.
Not Hi-Ho Silver either.
Not Hi-Ho Silver, in case you were thinking that and you're 75 years old. This was one of the first mainstream efforts of James Gunn, who went on to do
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Absolutely. Before this, he had written the script to the Dawn of the Dead remake, and he wrote, I think, one of the Scooby-Doo movies. So there you go.
Okay.
So now he's a big star. Back then, not so much.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is another one. Should have been, like an assignment for class. You got your grade, now you throw it away. You don't have to make it a movie.
Now we've jumped way ahead. Let me stop you right there. Go to our page on Facebook at the podcast that wouldn't die. Go to our page on Twitter at tpodcasttwdie. Email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at gmail.com.
If you want, I will give you my Twitter. It is, in fact,
okay.
The cult of Aaron.
If you want to just talk to Aaron about other things,
you can talk to me about boobies too. I'm single and I like to mingle.
Okay, there you go. So send in your profies, pictures, whatever you want to do.
Lord.
Let the good times roll.
No dick pics, please. No dick pics, please.
I totally. Oh, we're also on. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Like, share, subscribe, give us 5 stars, whatever you need to do. Hook a brother up, help a brother out. So Slither, I actually saw this movie in the theater.
Oh my God.
If you can imagine that. And
I can't imagine that.
And I own it.
What the
on
hell?
DVD. Yeah.
Did your wife just let you throw money into the trash can followed by a match?
Pretty much. She has never seen this movie, and I imagine she never will.
I would advise so.
So, do you want to give the quick synopsis?
Okay. Here you go. Small town, vaguely northwest. Meteorite crashes. Slug creature crawls out, sticks an arrow into someone. He turns into like a festering squid slug. He procreates by way of Quato-like finger wieners. It is so disturbing and disgusting.
Yep.
Merle from The Walking Dead turns into this just gelatinous rapo monster.
Yep.
The chick from 30 Rock, Elizabeth Banks, is in it, who I do love. But she's always the same character. And town turns into creatures, and they figure out some collective hive, kill the king, and they all die.
Basically.
The end.
Good
And
times.
that's what they do. The end. They kill the head squid, Grant.
Yep.
Merle. I'm just gonna call him Merle.
Yep.
They kill Grant almost the same way they kill the shark from Jaws, which is like a propane or a pressurized tank. It explodes, chunks of meat fly everywhere. The end.
It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough by the end. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But they're trying to be, it's not a classy You're Next. It's definitely classy is not the word.
No.
But they try to be kind of funny, quirky, but I can't get beyond the sausage wiener fingers. So it's all some kind of, once again, male rape. Men love to rape other men. That's all I gotta say.
It's like an episode of Oz, basically.
It's Deliverance from outer space. No, 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 no.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, basically, I read an article, and they said that the director was talking to the main actor, Nathan Fillion, who you know from Castle and The Rookie, if you're watching cable or regular TV these days.
I recognize his face, but I've never watched any of his Krabappel.
He basically said that James Gunn told him, the director, he said, this is not a comedy, although funny things happen. So
I would say they were trying to make a comedy because clearly it's not a horror movie.
Basically what it is a terrifying situation, but people are quick with the quips, basically. Everybody's got a one-liner. There's a lot of high-fiving going around. What?
Yeah, not everyone's best effort.
Oh, how dare you. This movie's hilarious. This movie is hilarious.
Boy, that is strong wording.
No.
Strong wording.
Okay, so let me break down the physiology of this creature, because we talked about Alien not long ago, and it's kind of a similar convoluted situation. So the meteorite crashes, and a slug-like creature comes out, like you said, and it shoots, I don't know,
like a dart
into this dude Grant. The dart swivels into his nervous system, into his brain, and takes him over. At that point,
like a zombie.
Right. At that point, Grant is no longer around, although this creature has access to all of Grant's memories and things. So he acts like him and says things like him, initially at least.
And beyond that, because Elizabeth Banks has sex with Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer Monster.
That's true.
And the monster, in fact, channeling bits of the Grant character, falls in love with her because he's never experienced such romantic love in the billions of eons. He and his sausage fingers have traveled the earth in search of love.
That is correct. So now he's possessed, and he has these, I'm going to call them appendages, that squirt out of the middle of his chest.
Oh! I'm getting PTSD just thinking
rough.
about this.
It's rough. And if he sticks you with both of those little pinchers, then he fills you up with these slugs kind of things.
Let me just add, at the end of his wiener sausage finger is like a dirty old fingernail, like a cat fingernail on the end.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh.
So it fills you up with these slugs, and it makes you ravenously hungry to the point where you will eat like dead animals and even dead people if push comes to shove.
Do we know it fills you up with slugs? Because when the dude at the end pulls it out, it was like orange spunk was coming out of it.
This is where, you're right. This is where it gets, evidently, if you're only stuck with one of the pinchers, then you don't get infected, which makes zero sense. So I'm not sure how that works. So after you eat enough, you blow up like a balloon, basically a giant bounce house size balloon, and you explode, and then those slugs come out.
Oh, and then they're quoting from The Room. You're tearing me apart!
You're tearing me apart, Lisa. And those slugs want to go in your mouth, Because if they go in your mouth, then they take you over and you become like a drone for the main creature, basically.
Right. It's a collective. It's like
a collective.
the Borg.
That's exactly what it is. So they all share one mind. So if one of them sees you, then the main creature sees you, and they all see you.
Right. So then they're all like approaching Elizabeth Banks, and they're all talking of one. I love you. I'm sorry I tried to strangle you.
Right. So basically, oh sweet Lord. So the main like big man on campus or whatever, like I'm trying to think what he is. He's like the wealthiest town member, basically. Michael Rooker, Merle. He's the one who's taken over by the creature, essentially.
Right.
And,
Elizabeth Banks' husband.
Right. He's married to Elizabeth Banks, who the sheriff or the chief of police or whatever was childhood friends with and has always had like carrying a torch for years later. From afar, still kind of interested.
Right.
Early on, the Grant character kidnaps a local townie woman, some kind of floozy, and impregnates her with the slugs. And
now,
she goes
let's
missing.
Be clear. This is after he's possessed.
This is after, right. He's after. Now, that's the thing. Initially, we're supposed to think Grant's kind of a jerk, but he
really didn't do anything bad.
He didn't. He's clearly devoted to his wife to the point where even when he's drunk and the floozy throws herself at him, he's like, no, I got to get back to my wife.
Exactly.
It's like we're supposed to think he's a bad guy, but he really doesn't do anything bad until he's possessed by the slug creatures or whatever.
Yeah. So that's an interesting choice in writing.
It is. Okay, so they're trying to find this missing woman. Okay, they managed to track her down because now Crazy Grant is a squid monster roaming around.
God.
So the mayor is
I can't even describe this horrible, god awful.
A lot of slime.
You know what? It was the Thing with antenna and squid feet.
Yes,
that's what I kept thinking of. The Thing.
Yes, that is exactly right. Okay, Aaron,
with weird razor sharp teeth.
Exactly, you're absolutely right. So, Aaron, it's interesting that you said The Thing you kept thinking about, because I realized this movie was a straight homage to a million different horror movies. Night of the Creeps, if you haven't seen, is a bunch of alien space slugs. Rabid, there's the woman with the little thing that comes out of her armpit with a little poker thing.
What?
If you haven't, okay, I got to jump in. If you've not been watching Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder, you're missing out on all these horrible movies. So, Rabid was one of those movies. Society, where they're all kind of squishing together and forming like a human blob. That was all from Society.
That's what happens in this.
And of course, Night of the Living Dead, The Thing, I should say. It's all over the place. When they were scanning through the town, all of the shops had like kind of interesting names. Like, it was R.J. McCready's Mortuary from The Thing. Hey. The pub that they were at was called Henenlotter's. Henenlotter was the guy who did Basket Case, the director. One of the farms was the Castavet's farm. Did you notice that?
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby. I wrote that down.
Yep. Of course, one of the farms was the Farmer Fitzgibbons, which was from the most terrifying tale of all, Peter Rabbit. So there you go.
Oh, Lord. Just randomly, at their high school team, home of the Bassett Cooters. Can you tell me what horror movie that's from?
Well, the school was Earl Bassett. Earl Bassett was a character from Tremors.
Can you tell me what a cooter is?
This is not the time or the place.
What's a Bassett? You haven't answered what a Bassett Cooter is.
I can't.
Is it like a vajayjay? What is that?
Anything's possible. I can't answer that. I can't get into it. Now, I have to say, when I first saw the commercial for this, I literally thought it was a remake of Night of the Creeps, like I said, with all the alien space slugs. But what really had my attention was Air Supply's Every Woman in the World, one of my favorite
'Cause
songs.
you're every woman in the world to me. Oh yeah,
It's dynamite.
I love me some Air Supply. They did have some great references. Lots of Air Supply.
Oh yeah.
Elizabeth Banks cracking a tab. Icy cold tab.
Well, the director said that he finds that the message behind that song, "Every Woman in the World," as terrifying.
Oh,
Like,
God.
you're the only creature in the universe that I care about. Everyone else can all become zombies, basically. So
Of course, that's what a man would think. That is a lovely, lovely tribute.
yeah,
Oh my God, that's a tragedy.
it's a tragedy. Now,
I saw them
go
at the
for it.
county fair. By the by,
I saw them at Humphreys by the Bay in San Diego. They were performing with Rick Springfield. So there you have it.
oh, how did Rick look?
A little rough around the edges. Of course, this was 25 years ago. So
see, the problem is, if you're Rick Springfield, you started off good looking. Air Supply,
there were always little crazy leprechauns.
They always, they weren't going in either direction they went, they'd still be fine.
It's a sad situation. Well,
it's a sad, sad situation.
They're not the same fan base either, Rick Springfield and Air Supply. It was like Air Supply were kind of older couples, kind of holding hands and like snuggling.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean at the concert or in general?
At the concert. And Rick Springfield were like old, kind of just past their prime ladies wearing their like Rick Springfield '84 halter tops. It was as terrifying as anything you'll see in this movie. Let me just put it that way.
I still have my original Air Supply vinyl sitting over there. Like when they're like staring off into space with like a building behind them, like they're superheroes.
Yep. Well, they can make stadiums rock, according to their one of their hits. So
that's what they say.
That's what they say about themselves.
They were rocking the county fair, although it was only people of a certain age.
That there can be no doubt. So there's a scene. Grant shows up at the Floozy's house to abduct her, to impregnate her and abduct her. And she's watching the Toxic Avenger on her little crazy TV. Interesting
with her
note,
baby.
With her infant child. The director of the Toxic Avenger plays a crazy drunk in a later scene in this movie, sitting in the police station. He has no lines. He's just sitting there in like a trench coat by one of the officers' desks. So there's a little Easter egg for you.
A magical cameo.
That's all you need. That's all you need. And actually, the director of this movie, James Gunn, has a cameo. In the beginning, he's like the history teacher talking to Elizabeth Banks when Michael Rooker arrives and kind of drags her off. I know what he wants to borrow, and I ain't lending. So
really, that was him? Because
him.
I was looking him up, and he looked different. He looks different in the picture on IMDb for sure.
And I'm going to knock your socks off some more. At the time, he was married to Jenna Fisher, who plays Shelby. The switchboard operator
from The Office.
Well, but she wasn't from The Office at this time. When they filmed this, right? When they filmed this show, this is before she became a big star, and she actually begged her husband for the role. And it wasn't until somebody dropped out that he kind of tossed her a bone and said, "Okay, you can have it." But by the time the movie came out,
it's so pivotal. If she was crappy, she would ruin it.
It was so pivotal.
You know what? Hold it right there. You know what this is? This is the case of Ricky Ricardo. Always trying to keep Lucy down. That's what he was doing.
Lucy wanted to be in the show, and he was very concerned. Ricky did not. He just played the bongos.
Exactly. She should be home, even when she didn't have a kid, because someone needs to be home vacuuming for 16 hours a day.
In Ricky's defense,
no.
In Ricky's defense,
no, there is no defense. He could have just thrown her a bone, given her something. All Lucy wanted was to act and just smother Ricky, just be with him all the time.
Look, in the reality of the show, what skills did Lucy actually have that would warrant her being on stage in the middle of Babalu? Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
All she had to do, give her 10 minutes, and then she'd be happy as a clam.
Look, he has a reputation.
For God's sakes. Man's trying to suppress the women again.
That's what it is.
And Mr. Gunn was doing the same thing with Jenna Fisher.
He was.
I'll be her Ethel. I'll be her Ethel.
You can be the
Come
Ethel.
on, Jenna. Give me a call.
By the time the movie actually was released, she was the biggest star because by then Office was the #1 show on television. So there you have it. Good times.
It is true. Although Merle was huge. People love Merle.
So much so we call him Merle, which is not his name. Good times. Everybody's favorite racist.
His name is not as important, but I will tell you, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. He is dynamite.
Terrifying. Another Joe Bob favorite.
That is not even a B movie. I will now. Let me say, it's been a long time since I'd been over to the Blockbuster and rented it, but it was solid.
Oh, I watched it. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's eerie. Terrified. It's eerie. It totally is. We'll have to do that sometime. Now, there's a scene in there where the infant child of the floozy is in the little bassinet with a tomato in its mouth. Did you see that?
No.
Yes.
I must have been busy writing my notes about air supply and foam rollers.
There's no explanation. It's just holding the tomato and, like, I don't know, suckling on it. Is that a thing? Or is this just some crazy... Okay, this movie's filmed in Canada, by the way. So 95% of the cast is Canadian. So I know this is a Canadian thing. All of our Canadian listeners, let us know what's up with babies and tomatoes. So
okay, I will tell you, I have seen freaks pick up a tomato, salt it, and eat it like a frickin' apple. It makes me want to vomit.
You've seen more than freaks. You've seen people closer to home do this as well.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Say it isn't so, brother.
Our
drop a name.
Our sister Brianna was the queen of eating tomatoes like apples and leaving the quote-unquote core rind on the couch for us to sit in. Now, this was many moons ago. Maybe things have changed.
Was that the white vinyl couch? Nothing like an old tomato.
An old...
Brianna was a savage. I think that at that point, the twins just raised themselves.
It was anything goes at that stage of the game. It's a sad situation.
I will tell you one time I did walk in on Dad up late at night eating a red onion like it was an apple. I don't know. Maybe there was nothing else in the house, but I do recall.
That's a terrifying image.
Yeah.
To say the least. Okay, so the cops are trying to track down this woman. They get to the barn, and that's when they find the floozy's now inflated to monstrous proportions. And all the raccoons in the neighborhood are dead, basically.
Yeah, it looks like one of those. See, I thought it was like a queen bee. So, I mean, this thing, like we were talking about, the xenomorphs. Yes. This thing apparently reproduces in 1,000 different random ways. So yes. I really thought this looked like one of those termite queens or where it has this giant abdomen and then there's just eggs pumping out of the other end. That's what I thought I was about to see.
Nope. She just explodes minutes later, sending crazy...
You're tearing me apart!
So there are now crazy leeches, whatever, slugs, whatever you want to say, and they go into these people's mouths. So now we discover how there's that crazy hive mind. And they're, like, within seconds, they've basically taken over the entire town.
But apparently, all you have to do is put a bandana over your mouth, and it keeps it out. I was quite, frankly, concerned about other orifices that it might crawl into. I was like, there's a lot of... Elizabeth Banks was, like, wearing a dress. I was like, sister.
Well, it's literally like, do you literally have to say, don't let him get in your mouth? You know, wouldn't just instinctually you would say, I'm not going to let this strange creature crawl in my mouth, but what do I know, right?
Oh,
Thanks for telling us, Chief. Good advice.
Oh, yeah. So it reproduces by, you could get a stinger in your chest.
Yes.
It reproduces by a slug will jump inside your mouth.
Right.
It reproduces if you get the finger sausage wieners into your belly, but only if you get 2 of them at a time. I would call them giant Quato fingers.
It's yucky.
And what else? But then there were other people who seemed to be infected, but still had their own wits about them.
No, what happened? Okay, so this is where it gets confusing. The way it works is if you get the slug in your mouth, you become a mindless drone. Basically, that's part of the hive mind. But if you get stuck with the pinchers, that's what I'm going to call them, then you
pinchers implies a pinch.
Okay, stabbers, whatever, stingers, whatever you want to call them.
Sausage finger wieners.
Sausage, I'm not calling them that. So if you get stuck with both of these, you are now impregnated. Now your mind is still your own, but you are now overcome with an insatiable hunger because you've got to feed all these critters in your tummy.
Right. So at the same time, at one point, they're in the basement gorging themselves on roadkill and other dead people. And our hero goes down, and the zombie people look at him, go, "Don't you judge me! Don't judge me!"
Yes, that wasn't our hero. That was the mayor, Jack McCready, played by Greg Henry, who I think is hilarious in this movie.
He's in 1,000 things.
Yeah, you saw him. He was in Scarface. He was in Body Double. A few other things, I'm sure.
No. He was also in every other James Gunn movie, too. He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, he was. You're absolutely... Well, and you're right. They're all in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's like, okay, I'm going to write a better script and just recast everyone again, and we'll do this better movie.
That is correct. So yeah, but that's the thing. It's basically at one point this girl, a teenager, has the creature start to go in her mouth, and somehow she's able to pull the thing out before it gets in her brain.
I think it's her acrylic nails. I think she had some kind of a psychic connection with her acrylic nails because once she sunk her nails into the slug, she started seeing like visions.
Right.
So that makes no damn sense.
At that point, she is now like afforded a peek into the hive mind, and she realizes that for millions of years, this little crazy stinger has gone from planet to planet, and all the creatures on the planet basically are turned into one of 3 things. They turn into the drones who spit acid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we forgot about that. And they also spit what looks like a big Dayglow green loogie at people that also turns you into some kind of zit-popping monster.
Well, I think it kills you. I think that's the thing.
But then the one dude, his head started, it softens you up.
Right.
So you can then attach to the mother squid.
Well,
Father squid.
So you become one of these drones who are dragging people over, or you get stuck with the 2 stingers and become like a carrier of the slugs.
It's very complicated, Kevin. This is very complicated.
Or you're just killed and used for meat. Right? They kill you and eat you are your 3 choices. Because
when the mayor gets turned, he has his wits about him and feels very guilty as he begins to gnaw on someone's arm.
He's not thrilled about it. Yeah. That's you're supposed to see like, okay, so this is what happens. This is what happened to the floozy at the beginning of the movie, essentially.
Right.
It's like you're so hungry because you have these slugs in you, you now have to just eat whatever he puts in front of you, including dead bodies of other people.
Yeah, at the beginning of the movie, when Grant first gets turned, when he still looks human, before he starts developing these like zit-like things on his forehead that also sprang out
lesions,
wiener fingers.
That's correct.
Yeah. So he's over at the supermarket buying and strangely enough, he has to buy very expensive cuts of meat.
Yeah.
Not like chuck roast. He's like buying sirloin steak, and let me have 48 of them, please.
It's cheaper just to kill the creatures in the woods, evidently.
Oh yes, very. I would say so. And your neighbors.
And your neighbors. And your neighbors. So, oh, so Lord. So, by the end of the movie, you're stuck with the sheriff, whose name, Bill. You're Elizabeth Banks, who's Starla, and this teenage girl who now knows basically what's happening. And they decide, okay, Starla gets kidnapped because the creature's still in love with her, basically.
Right.
And
He's traveled millions of miles.
He's in love with her, and her plan is, I've got this silver brush, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to sneak it in my pants, and then I'm going to stab him with it.
And by pants, we mean our chonies.
Yes, her underpants. But this seems like the most horrifically horrible idea.
It is the most ridiculous, stupid thing I've ever heard of.
This creature is huge now. It's as big as a room.
Some kind of a cocaine fever dream.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Meanwhile, Bill the sheriff goes like, well, there's a grenade here that we took from some townies who wanted to go trout fishing, so let me use that. Of course, that doesn't go well either. So eventually, he gets stuck with the stinger, but only one. He has presence of mind to grab the other one in midair before it can stick him.
Yeah, too bad he couldn't grab both.
Yeah, a little slow on the draw there. He sticks the stinger into a propane tank next to him. Starla shoots it with a gun, and
boom,
the creature blows up. And at that point, all the zombies just drop dead.
So I assumed that the other people would just turn back. So basically, the whole town's dead.
The whole town, right. I was thinking that too. Maybe they would snap out of it.
Right.
No evidence of that. They don't get up. There's just bodies everywhere.
It's a rotting cesspool of death.
Yeah. It's pretty much ball game. One other crazy cameo, which you wouldn't even notice unless you literally looked at the cast list. At one point, Starla calls the doctor because Grant says, sorry, I had a reaction to a bee sting. That's why I have tumors on my face. So I talked to the doctor. He says, I'll be fine. So she calls the doctor, says, Grant's condition seems to be getting worse. The doctor goes, what condition is that, honey? That is the voice of Rob Zombie.
I did see that.
Rob Zombie. Filmmaker extraordinaire.
Not impressed.
Not impressed? We saw him at the Fangoria Festival many moons ago.
I was not, and that was for House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
And I was not there to see Rob Zombie. Who was I there to see?
Karen Black, of course.
That's right. Trilogy of Terror.
And what is it? 3 Easy Pieces or one of those? I don't remember.
Bonnie and Clyde, but we don't care about that. Trilogy of Terror.
She was in a movie called Killer Fish with Lee Majors as well.
Say it with me. Trilogy of Terror.
I'm not going to say that with you. I'm not going to do it. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not a big Rob Zombie fan. That's not my jam. But one of his cohorts just passed away. I did see that.
Oh yeah. Sid Haig.
Yeah.
Who's in a number of things, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
Good time.
I thought that'd be your jam.
That was, it's jam adjacent. Okay. One thing. So I was sitting there. So the movie was over. I'm sitting there looking at my notes, getting them all situated, and I noticed for the first time that there's a post-credit sequence.
You didn't see that?
I'd never noticed it because this was before everything had a post-credit sequence. I mean, this was 15 years ago.
Right.
And so the final sequence is, there's a brain on the floor after the explosion, and the little stinger is kind of poking out, and it, I guess, off camera zaps a house cat that happened to be nearby. So I guess it's not over yet. It's just begun.
This is my theory.
Lay it on me.
James Gunn.
Yep.
And half this cast, which are clearly his knucklehead friends, we're at a party drinking, throwing around wackadoo ideas. Hey, it's going to be fantastic. Have me some more cocaine. Hey, we're going to do like this tribute to all these movies. We're going to insert all these Easter eggs. And yeah, dude, you're going to be like the squid thing. It's gonna kind of be like Alien and all this other stuff, all mushed together. Hey, mushed together. Yeah, that's the other idea. Yeah, we'll all work together. Won't that be fabulous? This is how I figured they put this together. I didn't need to see this. I don't need to ever see this again.
I think you're insane. I think the dialogue in this movie is hilarious.
Yeah,
it's
right up there with Miss Maisel. You know, it's really snappy.
Wait a minute, Miss Maisel? I'm not familiar with Miss Maisel.
The marvelous Miss Maisel.
Okay, it's getting worse. Maisel, you anti-Semite. Very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Which is a tragedy because I love Amy Sherman Palladino. Anywho, so I will tell you, there were a couple of amusing scenes. Basically, I think the best scene in this whole thing is with Fingernail Girl. Her whole family gets attacked and overcome by the slugs.
Yep.
And she is hiding out in her truck, and her family's coming out. Come on, Jelly Bean, let us in.
Right.
And the sheriff comes up to rescue her. As her family and the little twin children are all around the door banging. And he's shining the flashlight on them. And he's like, what's going on over there? What are those red spots all over you? What did they say, like mosquito bites
we got a little bit of a touch of the poison ivy.
Poison. And the twins, in unison, like, we are all scratchy. Oh my God! That was the best part of the whole thing. The weird hillbilly zombie family. We are all scratchy.
That was hilarious. But it was also, if you notice, it's like all the dialogue, all the townies speaking like crazy broken hillbilly English.
Yes.
People live in like a huge mansion, also speaking hillbilly English. It was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. It's like, maybe they all have Lyme disease. So Lyme disease caused you to turn to a squid? Is that correct? I thought that was hilarious.
I will tell you, 90% of my problems with this movie is looking at that monster.
That is true. That is rough sledding. I'm not going to lie to you.
90% of my problem is that. It's creepy. It's kind of makes me want to throw up.
I would say the first, 45 minutes are dynamite. When it gets really gross, it's not nearly as entertaining. I will agree with that.
I mean, just the turning of them is just a little too rapey and disgusting.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
That is true. I agree with that. That's definitely an issue to deal with. But any other thoughts? Go for it.
Well, at least he learned, or he went to a 12-step program, because I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is dynamite. It is great. You can't beat it. It's one of the best movies of that genre, at the very least.
I would say if my penance, so I could enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, was to watch this wretched beast, then I guess it was worth it.
Okay.
That and the $3.99. Once again, thank you, Amazon.
Okay.
Kevin, stop picking movies to watch that are only available on Amazon for paying customers.
Money well spent. I think we can all agree on that. Money well spent. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. You can go ahead and go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Make sure you like it and share it. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast, send an email at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie@gmail, and like, share, subscribe, 5 stars on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, etc., etc.
I am the cult of Aaron.
Aaron, are you on social media?
I am the cult of Aaron on the Twitter.
Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, but nobody gets to know what that is.
Snapchat.
Friendster.
eHarmony.
eHarmony. None of the above. Basically, Twitter is just me retweeting other people's work. So
very good.
It's very deep.
That's good stuff. Good original content. So there you are. Thank you very much. And goodbye.
Later, skaters.